Okay, this will be the last notes for this unit. Okay, so we're done after this, so that means we're getting very, very close to test time. Okay, we are on unit 5.7. Okay, 5.7. And for this objective, we are going to solve using quadratic formula. Okay, solve using quadratic formula. Now, in case you have forgotten the quadratic formula, there is a song, okay? Yes. And you may sing it. There's a song for the quadratic formula. Okay, hey, listen. Listen, listen. Guys, I'll sing it for you. Calm down, okay? There's two different versions. One is to the tune of Jingle Bells.
Can I sing the other one?
And the other one's
and thank you. And the other one is to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. Okay, so it doesn't matter which way you do it, they're the same thing. Okay, so the way you write this, and I'm gonna sing it slowly so I can be writing this down at the same time. It's x equals negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's, hey, okay, now I'll sing it better for you, okay? So, would you like to sing it with me, Brittany? That would be awesome, thanks. Okay, let's sing the other version then. Everybody can sing it together. Ready? Go. X equals negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Very nice. Okay, so however you sing it, you have another one? What's the other one? Go ahead. Okay.
No, I am not. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. What? It's a video, and we watched it like a million times in 8th grade.
Okay, I don't know that version.
Remember it, and it's from like 1 3
Hey, I don't care how you remember it. Remember the quadratic formula, okay? I don't care if you sing it, if you memorize it, whatever you do, we're using the quadratic formula. Okay, so for number 1, now these problems, listen, these problems will probably already tell you to solve by using the quadratic formula, okay? But I'm going to show you how you would know that anyways, okay? You should know that anyways. The way, kind of the order in which you should think about solving is the easiest way to solve is to factor set equal to 0 and solve. Okay? These problems, you cannot factor to set equal to 0 and solve. Okay, you can look at this. Nothing multiplies to negative 2 and adds to positive 3. It just doesn't work. Okay? Then you would try to see if there's just an a term and a c term, if there's just an x squared and a number, you'd put them on opposite sides, square root and solve. That's not possible for these either. Then your next alternative would be to complete the square. Now, you could complete the square here, but if you have an odd number in between, you're going to end up with goofy fractions. Okay, they're going to be messy fractions because you'd have 3 over 2 squared, so you're going to have to add 9 over 4. You're going to have to combine like terms, do all this stuff, create common denominators. A little too much work. Then your last alternative is going to be to use the quadratic formula. Okay? If you would like to use the quadratic formula for every single problem, that's fine. But on your test, there are some questions that specifically say solve by completing the square. Okay? So you have to solve by completing the square. If you get the right answer but do the work wrong, the work must be done. If the work is wrong, I'm going to mark it wrong. Okay? Same token with if it says solve by quadratic formula, you have to use the quadratic formula. So, first thing you want to do here is label your ABCs. So, A in this equation is 1, B is 3, C is negative 2. Right? Then we are going to plug in to the quadratic formula. So, negative times B, that's 3, plus or minus root B squared, so 3 squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 2, all over 2 times 1. If we simplify that, that'll give you negative 3 plus or minus root 3 squared is 9 minus 4 times 1 times negative 2, so that's plus 8 over 2. Simplify even further. Negative 3 plus or minus root 17 over 2. Can anything reduce there? No. So that is your answer. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2. Quadratic formula. I know you've done this before. You had to have done this in Algebra 1. Okay? Number 2, whether or not you remember is another thing.
I was homeschooled, so.
Okay, well, you should have done it. Okay, number 2, if I gave you x squared minus 5x equals 7. X squared minus 5x equals 7. So, first things first, I want to label my ABCs. Can I label the ABCs right now? No, it has to be equal to what? 0. So technically this looks as though it has that space to put in the completed square thing, or to complete the square, but it's odd, so that would be messy. So we want to move this over, so that would give you x squared minus 5x minus 7 equals 0. Then label the ABCs. A is 1, B is negative 5, C is negative 7. Then plug into the quadratic formula. That would be negative times negative 5 plus or minus negative 5 squared minus 4 times A is 1, C is negative 7, all over 2 times 1. Keep simplifying, that's positive 5 plus or minus root negative 5 squared is 25. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 7 is a positive 28 over 2. If you simplify further, we got 5 plus or minus root 53 over 2. And that's our answer. Now, if you can break anything out, you should. If you can reduce, split it into 2 parts and reduce. Okay, but only if you can reduce. Questions so far?
How many
As many as I want to make up. Great. Let's try another one for number 3. As many as I want to do. 16x squared minus 23x equals 17x minus 25. 16x squared minus 23x equals 17x minus 25. So, where do you think we start? Maddie?
We will get them all on one side.
Get them all on one side. Generally, you want to get them over to the side so that your x squared term is positive. If you wanted to, you could move them to the other side, and you'd have a negative x squared. That would be fine. It's a little bit more difficult, though, because you'd be dealing with negatives. So, move the 17, move the 25. That would leave you with 16x squared. Negative 23 minus 17 is negative 40x. Add 25, so plus 25 equals 0. Now you can label your ABCs. A is 16, B is negative 40, C is positive 25. Plug into the quadratic formula, so negative times negative 40 plus or minus root negative 40 squared minus 4 times A is 16, C is 25, all over 2 times 16. Now, you are not using calculators on this, so you might have to do some multiplication on the side of your paper, which is fine. So, 40 plus or minus root, what is negative 40 squared?
1600.
1600. Minus, what's 4 times 16 times 25?
1600.
Okay, let's think about it. What's 4 times 25? 100. 100 times 16, 1600. Okay, so no complaining about, I need a calculator. No, you don't. Okay, you're big boys and girls. You can multiply. If you couldn't multiply, you could do it on the side of your paper. Over 2 times 16 is 32. So continue to simplify. This is 40 plus or minus root 0. What happens there?
0.
0. So 40 plus 0, that just goes away. So really this is 40 over 32, which reduces to be 8 goes into both of them, 5 over 4. Okay, 5 over 4. Now, technically, if you get a whole number here, if you get a whole number, and you don't have any radicals left behind, technically that tells us this could have been factored. And it could have. You could have factored this and set it equal to 0. Not the easiest thing in the world to factor, so that's why it's probably easier to do the quadratic formula on this one. Okay, last example for this entire unit. Woo! Excitement.
Yay.
X squared minus 6x plus 10 equals 0. X squared minus 6x plus 10 equals 0. This is all on the right, the correct side. Label your ABCs. A is 1, B is negative 6, C is 10.
It has a number, so can we...
Oh, it has an even number, so can you complete the square?
Yeah.
If you would like to.
I'd like to.
Would you like to do that instead? Yes, ma'am. Okay, I will look at your homework right now and see what the instructions say. Do you guys prefer completing the square?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. If you prefer completing the square, then I would practice that. So you guys are doing 3 through 30. Technically, your homework says, it says use the quadratic formula for the first part. Then use the quadratic formula to solve. That's the same thing. Solve using the quadratic formula, then solve the equation by factoring to check your solution. Yeah, that is not going to happen. So don't bother factoring to check your solution. I just want you solving. Okay? So you solve by whichever method you would like. I don't know. I haven't gotten there. Yes. Okay, so would we prefer to use the quadratic formula or complete the square? Okay, I'll show you both ways. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Great. If you complete the square, you would do x squared minus 6x, create your space, equals negative 10. To fill in your space, you would do negative 6 divided by 2 and square it, so that'd be negative 3 squared. So to both sides, you would add 9. Okay. That would give us x minus 3 quantity squared equals negative 1. Root both sides. Put in your plus or minus. So we got x minus 3 equals plus or minus I. Don't write root 1 because that's just 1. Okay, so I. Then add, so x equals 3 plus or minus I. Now, that is fine. Now, if we do the quadratic formula, let me show you that way. Negative times negative 6 plus or minus root negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10 over 2 times 1. So 6 plus or minus, hey guys, I'm almost done. 6 plus or minus 36 minus 40 over 2. 3 plus or minus root negative 4, 6 plus or minus root negative 4 over 2, which becomes 6 plus or minus 2i over 2. 6 over 2 plus or minus 2i over 2. Those reduce, and you would get 3 plus or minus I. So yes, you can get the same answer in either way. Okay, it is up to you. You can pick however you want. Okay, homework on this is page 296. You are doing numbers 3 through 30. M3 means multiples of 3, so count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, okay? If you can't count by 3s, then do them all, okay? Then 40 through